So today's story is about how I love teaching at King Middle School. One of the great things about teaching at a school named after Dr. King is that though he was not a perfect person, he was certainly an inspiring person. And many of the things that he has said are thoughts that I have reflected upon and grown from in my life because of that reflection. So behind me you will see a sign that says communication fosters justice, and underneath it a poster that says together for justice. And for me, I believe that the struggle for justice and the creation of harmony in justice is part of the meaning of life. And many things that Dr. King says have been very powerful in terms of helping me to guide my life to try to be a better warrior for justice. So one of my favorite quotes is this one right here. Every step toward the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle, the tireless exertions and passionate concern of dedicated individuals. I think the most important word there is the word sacrifice, because I've realized that in my life, while there are many things that I care about and I want to happen, it's very easy to say, oh, this should happen, that should happen, we should do it this way. But if I'm not willing to sacrifice my time, my effort, my financial ability, anything that costs me something, then I'm not really fighting for justice. I'm telling other people to do it. So that word sacrifice is really powerful. Another great quote from Dr. King is the idea that darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. He also says hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And I think what's powerful about that is this idea that when somebody comes at you with negative and you meet them with negative, you get a very unpleasant interaction. And what Dr. King realized, and partly in his studies of Gandhi and peaceful resistance, nonviolent resistance that Gandhi used in India and in South Africa to create social change for justice, Dr. King decided that this idea of resistance peacefully was the way to change people's minds for justice. That if he met hate with hate, it was going to lead to more conflict. So instead, the only way to overcome hate was with love. And peaceful resistance was the way that he talked about that. Now, when you think about how that applies in your own life, I believe that that societal change also applies in our own life. When somebody, an individual, comes at you with hate and you meet them with hate, even though it's very natural and we want to, I believe it only makes it worse. For example, one time I was playing basketball and this guy who was much, much larger than me, I was annoying him in some way. I was probably, pestering him or fouling him or, taking the ball or whatever. I might have even been saying things to him that were not nice. I don't remember. But I do remember him towering over me and looking down at me and yelling at me angrily, "Do you want to fight? Do you want to take this outside?" And I remember looking up at him and saying, "I do not want to. If we take this outside, you will surely beat me up. And I do not want to get beaten up today." And I walked away. Had I met that anger with anger, surely we both would have been hurt. But because I walked away, in that instance, neither of us did. Now, I could have gone one step further. Maybe I could have engaged him in conversation or even apologized for what I had done to make him not so angry. And when I think about applying this in my own life, there are many instances, be it with a sibling or a cousin or a parent or a partner, where I rise to some form of negativity or irritability with my own negativity or irritability. And inevitably what happens is it makes it worse. But when I'm able to meet that negativity with love and compassion and kindness, oftentimes it will make it better. Not always. Sometimes it takes many times. But I have come to see that Dr. King's statement is quite true, even in my personal life. And I have seen it in the halls of King Middle School as well. When somebody, as often happens in middle school, treats another person negatively, if that person responds with negativity, it makes it worse. But what if in those halls or in those classrooms, if somebody came at you with hate and negativity and meanness, what if you met that with kindness and compassion and even love? Now, I know in 7th grade, 6th grade, 8th grade, we're not going to want to have somebody come at us and be mean and yelling at us and being like, "No, I love you, man. Come on, I love you, man." That's not very natural. But how can we frame this idea of Dr. King's in a way that's useful to us? And the term I have come up with that is rise above. In other words, when somebody comes at you with negativity, can you rise above that and meet it with something positive or compassion and kindness? So we don't have to think about love all the time, even though rise above really is a code word for that. We can think about rise above when that person comes at you. Maybe it's in the hallways of King Middle School. Maybe it's in your home or in your room. Maybe it's out in the world when you think about what's happening in this nation, in this country, in this world, negativity that's happening. Can you meet it with something like compassion, where you want to make it better, but you don't meet hate with hate? The other thing that's paired with this is this idea that sometimes we get tired. It can be very tiring to constantly be rising above, and we might think, why aren't they rising above? Why aren't they acting with love? And I think the answer to this that I've experienced in my life is we just have to keep trying. And even though I want to give up sometimes, I need to have the belief that if I don't give up, if I continue to rise above, that someday other people will see that it is a better way to live. Because I know it has always been a better way for me to live. And I've made many mistakes and I've done the opposite. It doesn't feel great. But when I have the strength and I don't give up and I find a way to rise above and meet hate with love, my life has always been better. And so I'm grateful to work at a school named after Dr. King. And I'm grateful to have these quotes that live in my brain and in my heart that I can reflect on to help me to be a better person. Dr. King says, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." I believe that is true. I believe that we can make justice happen if we never give up and rise above. Thanks.